Hello, everybody. Checking if everything's all right. It seems like it is. So here we are. We are live, and it's nice to have everybody on board. Hope everybody is all right. Got a few radios of choice here. Got the there's by HF Plus on the laptop. Got the Texan PL 990X and the 501X both also running. So several radios running in to tune signals quickly. And of course, it's a lot of fun to play around with these radios. So we're going to check that out. Check something here. Maybe I'm going to move the. I think I'm going to move the. Yep. I'm going to move the audio of this one. It is in the console. And we're going to use the audio of the 501X instead. So that's going to be good. So I want to have you guys hear what I hear. Hey everyone, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave Radio live show, the Saturday edition of the show. That comes to you, of course, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is the show where everybody that enjoys radio has to be here because we're all a bunch of geeks of radio. Nice to have all of you. And my name is Jill. And of course, we are here to just share together and have fun with a hobby that is pretty solitary. We usually do this pretty much alone. Most of us don't have, friends or family members that are going to join us with radio. Most of the time, it's more of an annoyance than a something interesting that people want to help us with. So it's nice to have all of you here in the live show. We of course have a chat room, which is great, and it's really nice to be in the chat room if you are a newbie, if you have questions, and you can also be helpful and answer. It's really a lot of fun to have and see the interaction in the chat room. So you can join that. There's also a Facebook group, great Facebook group that has about 2,600 members where people are sharing what they're listening to and so on. It's another great place to be. So two spots where you can enjoy. So the Facebook group is like the after party. So it's kind of nice to have all of you here, see what you guys are sharing, see what you guys are listening to, and it's really a lot of fun. So we're Saturday. We're going to talk a little bit about what's, we're in June now. So one of the questions that came up this week between the last Wednesday and now is, how summer propagation, what to expect about it. And of course, summer propagation is very interesting. Every season is interesting. I mean, I get people sometimes telling me, well, there seems to be seasons where it's not as good as others. Actually, not true. Each season has its good points and its bad points. The problem is sometimes people have kind of a habit of listening and a habit of listening always at the same time. Problem is as the seasons change, that habit has to change also, because that time period where maybe you would be listening at a certain time for good signals in the winter, well, maybe in that time period in the summer is bad and it's not interesting. That with the shifting of frequencies. So we're going to talk a bit about summer propagation. We're going to talk about the evolving propagation of summer also, and with the solar activity we're having now, which is much higher than last year actually. So cheers, everybody. I ran out of tall glasses. They're all in the sorry guys, they're all in the dishwasher, and the dishwasher's running, so I had to use a glass that I usually use to drink either milk or so there's a cow on this glass, but it's my usual vodka cranberry in a cow glass. So nice to be here. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have a lot of fun, I think, with this. We'll see, of course, chase pirates, see if any number stations popping up, anything interesting. I think it's going to be cool to just check out the bands a little bit also at the same time. Also, in effect, that we're going to talk about with the shifting propagation and the fact that like in the next 2 months, the 20-hour UTC show is actually 4 to 5 hours before sunset here in Montreal. So it's really, really a different thing. We get the propagation. Remember this spring we had a few times when we tuned the bands and propagation was amazing on the bands, but I was also in the gray line area, which is always an interesting time to listen to the radio. So anyways, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about different things. It's interesting. I took a walk today. The little walk, not very long. Didn't have a lot of time, but I took a walk, and I actually decided to go on the street, go take a walk on the street where I grew up when I was a teenager, and where I actually did my first shortwave listening. And it's that street that it's not very far from here. And it's that street where, of course, it has a lot of memories of friends that I had in the past, people that I don't see anymore, that you're wondering, what are they doing in life? And of course, people that moved that I still see as friends, and all the memories that go to that street, actually. So I went through the street and slowly looking around, and it's just funny because the shuffle on my YouTube music on my phone while I was actually um, walking on the street came up with a song that for me reminds me of my getting into my teenage years, which is a song by Blondie called "Call Me." And it's so funny that just by chance, it started playing, and it added to the feeling of the street where I lived when I was younger. And when I went past in front of the house where we lived as a teenager, I was, things have changed a little bit, but it still has the same, still looks the same, except they've modified a few things. In front of the house, there was a row of bushes that aren't there anymore. Instead of grass, they put cement, and they actually park their cars on the cement part of the house. It's kind of very different. And the thing about um, I was looking at the house. I was thinking about the 100 feet of wire that I put over the roof, and the wires in the backyard, the antennas, and all the experimentation I did there, which was kind of fun. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. That's where I had my first CB, and that's where I transmitted my first, transmissions out of that CB radio, and had that little kit with a AM transmitter, and I would do a pretend radio station. And I'd go knock on my neighbor's door, uh, on each side. One side was a Greek friend, and the other side was a Italian. And I'd say, "Oh, tune 680 kilohertz or whatever." Often I was more into like 1100 kilohertz or something like that. So I would, try to fine tune. What I would do is I'd use a radio that has an AM frequency, and with the display, so I know where I was. And then when I knew that I tune a specific frequency, say 1100 kilohertz, I'd start playing music and do my pretend DJ, and had fun with that. And I would go to my I would go to my neighbors, and it's like, "Do you hear me on 1100 kilohertz on your stereo?" And the Greek neighbor would hear me. The other neighbor, the Italian neighbor, would not. But it was like part 15 transmitter, so it was very, very low power. Although I was basically not abiding by the rules, because the antenna, which was supposed to be that just a short piece of wire, I would actually put my 100 feet of wire on it, which technically breaks the rules of part 15 immediately, but it still didn't do much. But I'd have fun playing songs, and I remember I had my little tape cassette, and I'd play songs, and give a shout out to my Greek neighbor that could hear me on the stereo. And there's something magical about it. There's something magical about not just receiving radio waves, but also something about transmitting. And it's something. It was all new. Well, that's also something that is kind of interesting, is the fact that it's all new. You're beginning in a radio. It's a new world of discovery. And I think we can, I mean, sorry, I'm always amazed today at all the new stuff. But I don't know if it has to do with, being young and discovering the world. It seems that the amazement was even more amazing back then than anything amazing today. There's something magical about it. So I had all of that coming back to me. My first letters that I received from, different stations around the world. That mailbox there was full of letters. Thinking about my neighbors that used to live, there was one neighbor. There was one neighbor that she was really old, but she was, a few years ago I met her, and she recognized me, and she was still alive, and she was like 90, 92. And that was kind of interesting. It's I was wondering, I passed by and I was like, wow, could she still be there? She'd be maybe 95. So I don't know. I was looking up the windows, like, I wonder if she's still living there. Maybe she's gone, and which would not surprise me. I mean, at that age, anything can happen at a really quick pace. So really nice. And the the uh, the memories that came back to me this afternoon was really, really nice. And it was, I was thinking I should one day do a quick live with my phone and go through the street and show the house where I grew up, and show you guys, you know, that's where it all started. and then even show the park where I went with. I was going with my walkie-talkies. We're talking about Stranger Things, and Stranger Things, they use walkie-talkies a lot to talk with each other. And of course, some of the models shown are some of the TRC 234, what I remember, not 234, but 214 or whatever that I have here. They're exact same model that some are using in the um, some are using in the series, Stranger Things. So I'm gonna try to do that one day and have I'll let you guys know in advance where it's gonna be the an advanced little it would not be very long, but I would just like go to the park, go through the street, and kind of show you guys a little bit where I grew up and all. So anyways, this is really interesting, and nostalgia hits you really fast when you start going into an area where you lived when you were young, and you've got all these radios and grew up with remote. I remember remote control cars and all sorts of things like that, and I was like, wow. Streets changed a little bit. There's a couple of trees that they took down because they probably were hit by some disease, so there's less trees than there were. There's pretty much no one there that lived when I was young, except on the other side of the street. When I was living there, on the other side of the street, there was a family there, and their kids were about my age back then. So, but it's not because it's your neighbors that you necessarily play with them. I never really played much with them. I would play with other kids, but not really with them. But um, that house right on the across the street, still the same family there. But I mean, the guy, they must be like in their 70s or something. The parents there, at least in their 70s, and if because but they're still there. I recognize I was the one of the guys, one of their one of the people that had a house actually was looking out a window. It's like, yeah, it's them. Recognized his face. Kind of stared at me. I wondered if maybe he was kind of wondering, could that be Gilles that lived across the street when he was younger? I mean, I left there in 1991 ish, and so that means it's more than 30 years since I've lived there. But boy, the memories were flooding, and of course the nostalgia that goes with it. So we're going to do a little something with that someday. So welcome everybody. Nice to have you here. Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana. Tarek in Cairo, Egypt. Rob, nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona. Chuck, N5 KVO, nice to have you here from sunny and hot South Texas. Nick Sharp, nice to have you on board from the UK. What else do we have? WRNO. WRNO is a mix of religious programming and a lot of they have a lot of Chinese language religious programming also, that probably somebody's been paying airtime for. Michael, nice to have you here, sitting with his Ethon Elite 750. Robert Cross, nice to have you here. Nick Sharp, yep, PSK Reporter. If you do FT8, you need to have PSK Reporter with that. Absolutely. They work great together. Great together. Artist at the Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. And yeah, cut some branches growing around the long wires and the MLA30. So yeah, pretty nice here too. It's about 70. It's about 70 outside, and been having some Some beautiful weather tomorrow also. Luigi, salut, j'espère que ça va bien. Depuis Bordeaux, toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you here. Larry, N2ICZ, nice to have you here. TV Dexter, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Darren Rogers, nice to have you on board. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you here. And Winville, Missouri. Robert Cross, nice to have you here. We have Greg, nice to have you on board, Greg. Joe Tyson from Apex, North Carolina, KM4WRQ. Nice to have you here. Salut PLF Radio, bonjour. J'espère que tu vas bien, mon ami. Uncle Justin, KB2RMC in Western New York State. Nice to have you here. Ari, N2ICZ, you mentioned on last stream about doing a show on shortwave. Any thoughts on the type of program? Yeah, it would be some kind of mix of, it would not, there would not be music. It would, an idea that I have is a mix of talk about shortwave, talk about some of the latest, maybe some of the latest stations that I've been monitoring and giving my opinion and all sorts of things like that. Maybe a part of the show could be a little nostalgia, talking about a shortwave station from the past, playing their interval signal, stuff like that. I'm looking at something that could be like an hour show. That could be a lot of fun. I'm gonna, it's working. It's kind of there in my head, and I'm gonna see what I'm gonna do about it. Richard Ragnar, nice to have you here, Richard, Northeast Illinois. We have another Rob. Hello there, my friend. Greg, yes, I will say hi to Paul the cat and his girlfriend, absolutely. Don Royal, I know computer and monitor gives you radio interference. If you turn both of them off, does it help? If your radio's in the same room and you're not using any outdoor antennas, definitely that could do a good, really, really important job at removing noise. Electronics in general, computers are very noisy also. They have a lot of oscillators inside them. Yes, a lot of models of TVs do create, and monitors create noise, but that can be mitigated if you use outdoor antennas. For example, here my radios are all plugged on my ML830 outdoor through shielded cables. So even though they are close to my computer, they're not affected by any of the noise the computer makes, because that noise is in the room here but doesn't reach my outdoor antenna. So it all depends on how you're set up. There are ways to set up, an outdoor antenna, bring that signal inside through shielded cables, which means that the noise from your room, from your electronics, your computers, and so on, cannot reach the radio itself, as you're using shielded cables to listen. Mike Water, 1958. Good afternoon. Nice to have you here. DJW883. Nice to have you here, Southeast Pennsylvania. 15770. Let's try that. Let's see here. What's the signal on 15770? Very good here in Montreal. With some music right now. About S9 plus 30, 40. Very good signal up here in Montreal. It's interesting how the differences in propagation, depending on where we are. Jason Roberts, nice to have you here from the hills of West Virginia, KE8UEY. Skipwave DX, nice to have you on board, Rich, and from the Catskill Mountains in New York. Andy New from Bristol, UK, M7CUN. René Charbonnier and Radio Classic Sunday, P3RKD. Nice to have you here, my friend. Always nice to have all of you on board. So, I'm trying to catch up here. What else do we have? Let me just reach here. Okay. We have VT Radio. Paul, nice to have you on board. AA1SU from Northern Vermont. And yep, beautiful weather, definitely. It's interesting because we had kind of a front go through, but it just, one of those line of clouds that came like I was eating pancakes on the balcony at around 1 p.m. And it was beautiful, sunny, a little windy, but beautiful sunny afternoon. And then from the northwest came this dark line of clouds that descended slowly, and the sun, it blocked the sun for maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes, and then moved away, and the sky came blue again, but the wind shifted from south that it was when I started eating, and it shifted to the west. So it's kind of, wow, okay, some kind of quick front that went through, but no rain, no nothing, just lasted 30 minutes. Sun came back, and I guess that's why it's a little cool, 70 degrees. It was looking to be hotter than that at noon, so probably that changed the weather pattern here. So kind of nice. Jeff Williams in Cornwall, UK. Nice to have you here. Mad Radio DX in UK. Nice to have you here. Paul Taylor. When I want to know whether propagation is good, I tune around to see if I can hear Brother Stare. Well, it could be halfway of a joke and not, because, I mean, for example, that 5900 frequency of him from Bulgaria. Well, you could check 49-meter propagation from Europe to here by tuning there. You immediately know, that it's him. So, that propagation from Bulgaria to the East Coast is good on that frequency. Robert Cross picking up 7415, waiting on a name of the radio station. I have a bit of bad news in the UK long wave. They're talking about switching off BBC Radio 4 on long wave. Yeah, there's big shifts coming to um, the the BBC with the funding that's being cut. So some funding's coming, but a lot of the funding's going to be taken away also. So they're really, really talking about a shift in the future and maybe using digital modes. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to look at what's going to happen. But unfortunately, long wave particularly and medium wave are both, a trend. It's sad to see that trend of moving away from these ways of transmissions, which is sad. Darren Rogers takes the cranberry without the vodka. That's perfect. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. Bonjour, hi. From Massachusetts, nice sunny day. We have 11 Jane, nice to have you on board. Simon Templar, nice to have you here from Portland, Oregon. We have Errol Anderson, nice to have you here from northwest of Oslo. LB1NH, nice to have you on board. Had my first contact with Norway on 20 meters, Harold. I contacted a station on 20 meters this week on my ham radio. Was it on Tuesday night? I think it was Tuesday evening. Yeah. VG Radio 15770, loud but boring. Richard Wagner, I used to transmit AM, and if it went around a 1 block square area. I'm Upper, nice to have you here from Moscow, Russia. Tostenloaf, nice to have you here from North Alabama. Paul Taylor, getting North Korea 13760. You guys in Europe have a good listen to that one. I don't know if they're still doing that. I'm going to check the schedules. I remember there used to be a time when a lot of the frequencies from Voice of Korea were also being taken over by broadcasts of China radio. Yeah, you see here, 18 to 19, there are two stations at the same time. So, it's kind of interesting. But after 19 UT, it's only Voice of Korea. So you're probably hearing Voice of Korea right now. It should be in French and should switch to English at the top of the hour, 21 UT English. So you might have some English to listen to. So we're going to check that out. In 27 minutes time, we have a number station, a Morse code number stations. If you guys want to try it, we'll be tuning 11144. So 11144. I'm actually going to set one radio here. 1114. I'll put 143 upper sideband on here. And I think I'll leave it kind of a low volume and see if anything comes on 11144 in 27 minutes. So at 21 UTC. So Liv and Jane, can anyone check if there's anything new on 4625, which is the buzzer? Corbett, DC, nice to have you here from the Florida Gulf Coast. Richard Wagner built two. The later one was much better. Had a modulator, an oscillator, and power amp transistor. Yeah, that was much better. Mine was a very cheap Part 15 kit that you couldn't do much with. Didn't go very far, I can tell you that. And had crappy audio also at the same time. I remember the guy that my Greek neighbor friend listening in and saying, I get the music, but I have no idea what you're talking about when you talk. I can't, it's just muffled and I don't understand. Paul Taylor getting the normal buzzer on 4625. Corbett DC recently bought an FM transmitter to play my Android over the car stereo. That's the fun thing. One of the things that you can do when you're on the highway or in traffic, because there's still a lot of people using those, is tune into some empty frequencies and see how as cars pass by, you hear the transmitters of some other, of the others. Lemon Jane, depends what you want to do. There are Kiwi SDRs online that you can use from all over the world. And if you want to have your own radio, you can buy an SDR, like the SDR Play RSP1A is a great entry-level SDR. John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. Papa, an Onco is a great place to order any text and receiver. Often is the best price and excellent service, and some motorcycle guy blasting music outdoor. J Projects from San Diego, California. Dustin Love, as a teen, used to transmit music on channel 14 walkie-talkie to my girlfriend next door. The fourth harmonic was 108, I think, and apparently FM through FM. So 2754, yeah, 108, around 108. I used to do a radio. Actually, my friend that had a realistic DX100 for shortwave when I was young, for about a year and a half, we were doing radio together. Got a walkie-talkie, and actually the walkie-talkie, we would, on Friday night during school time, on Friday night, we would actually do a radio station on channel 14. It was only the only channel we had in our talkies at the time. So he was living 3 corner streets from me, which was, an interesting distance, but we could hear each other. So often what we would do is just, hang out on the balcony. He would be on his balcony outdoors in the summer, or when it was, weather was good enough. Same thing. Same thing has the for me, and we would just have conversations over the CB radio. But my it was really really nice to have a we would do a radio station, like we would do each an hour each, and basically it's really nice to it was really nice. We would, read technical stuff and play music and do DJs. We would do with the fun. Like we had a radio station, and I remember one time I'm listening to him, and I'm also tuning my DX100 to some other frequency, and I hear a CB higher up on the frequency and says, "There's some guy thinking he's a radio station on channel 14." I was like, oh, okay. Some other people are actually listening in. But that was a lot of fun. I mean, when we got our talkies, is obvious. When we got our talkies, it was like he would call me up on the phone only to say one thing: turn on your talkie, and then we would go and talk on the walkie-talkie, which pleased my parents because the phone line was available, because when we would talk on the phone, sometimes we'd talk for hours. So that was a lot of fun. Good. Once again, great memories that are from that place where I lived when I was younger. What else do we have? Yeah, Luigi, I'm gonna have to do that in the next couple of weeks and check out a little moment where I'm gonna stream from my phone from where I lived. Hi, Mapper 4625 buzzes as usual near We're near Moscow. Storm Radios and Cats, nice to have you on board. So many live streams to follow, I can't keep up. Papa, I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada here. What else do we have? Corbett DC, our neighbors did not like it when my brother was in the CB. It interfered with their TV, especially if you had a station on channel 2, because channel 2 was the perfect place for interference. It was it's the second harmonic of 27 megahertz. So if you were CB and your setup wasn't perfectly well done, you would easily interfere with people listening, especially on channel 2. We here in Montreal had the CBC channel 2 back then. And I remember the 7th or 8th neighbor down the street had a CB antenna on top of his house, and he would do some CBing. When he would start, we would actually have channel 2 go away. And so my parents were getting annoyed. And what happened is actually, I think this is what precipitated everybody into my parents into getting cable TV. And I think the cable TV came in the house pretty much at the time when my parents were too annoyed with the CB or interfering. Of course, getting cable TV fixed the problem, but I could imagine the whole street having problems with him. I can tell you that. And that was the kind of guy you couldn't talk to. If you started talking about your CBs interfering with something, I remember one neighbor going to his place. Man, they broke out into a fight in the street. It was like, man, you don't come and tell me how to, to stop doing my CB stuff or whatever. Oh man. John Mecca, my automatic updates have stopped on my old Acer Chromebook. So ordered a new Chromebook last night. Yeah, that's the sad thing about Chromebooks. Their deadline. I mean, don't tell me that the new update couldn't work. That's a little frustration, I would say, about Chromebooks. But they're kind of nice. That's what I'm using here, anyways. Chromebook. This is a Chromebook where I'm looking at the chat room actually and the schedules and stuff. Particularly love it for the really long battery life. Richard Wagner, PL330 just rocks. Absolutely. Amazing radio. So it's pretty cool. Serge, nice to have you on board, my friend. Jerry Carnes, nice to have you here. KD9QCZ. That's been a while. Schedule change at work and lots of overtime. So cool to have you here, my friend. Radio Yankee K2YK. Nice to have you here, Mike, in Western New York. Jerry in New Pal, Indiana. Zen Faros following along with the warm and sunny Westchester, New York. Drake R8, HF Plus Discovery, and new H501X. All amazing radios. I'm sure you're having a lot of fun. Thanks for the nice comments, Greg. 11 Jane waiting for a secret message. Do you have those superpowers like in Stranger Things? Carl Icon, nice to have you on board. Says New York here, 12050, making into New York. Sounds like African. 12050 is just going to tell you in a second. I think it's that station in 12050. There we go. Yeah, it's that at this time from 19 to 21, it's Radio Data Zone, which is that clandestine station for, I believe it's Fort Chad or some place like that. It is transmitted from the UK, from Warburton and the United Kingdom. The rent airtime. And if you're Spanish, well, you'll hear WEWN, the Catholic station out of the US. But Radio and Data Zone, that one usually comes in not too bad. It should stop actually at 21 UT. So it's in a KNU. I don't know what language that is, but it is from 19 to 21 from Warburton, UK transmitter site, actually. So that's pretty much what you're listening to. You're probably Curacao. Roberto Rojas, nice to have you on board. Neil Rigby, nice to have you here from the UK. Let's go down. Try to reach slowly down. There we go. Total hearing 15770 in Alabama. Third Ferguson, receiving 12050. Yep, Radio and Data Zone, transmitted from the United Kingdom. Warburton, UK transmitter. Kathleen, nice to have you here from Germany, DE1 CTL. Glenn, nice to have you here from Milwaukee, KB9IN. Luigi Joe, could you tell us if you're still satisfied with your new weather station now that you have some experience with it? What are its qualities and defects? I Like it. I love it. It's a very nice weather station. It does a lot. There are a few things I would have loved to have in because I've owned quite a few weather stations in the past. So for those that wonder what it is, this is the weather station I'm using, the one that you see here, just below my microphone. That's the weather station I'm using. That weather station is a new weather station that I got. It has a lightning detector in it too. Everything. So it's nice. The display is beautiful. Seems to be quite accurate in its information. It learns. It has some kind of AI, if you want, where it learns a little bit about your environment. The basic information that it has is cool. At the bottom, there's kind of text going through all the time, giving you all the details of last the high temperature, low temperature for 24 hours for the week, forever, the rain, the winds, all sorts of things. The moon phase. I like it, and I am happy with it. What I would say is something I would have enjoyed a little more is having a slightly bigger display with slightly more info. Like for example, the moon phase. You got to wait until the text goes through, or you press the button to make it faster. Why I had a weather station that what it showed a little icon with the moon phase, which isn't hard to do. I would have liked maybe that to be there. But I don't have much negative about it. It is a beautiful station. It works great. I'm happy with it, and it's like I said, very accurate. Even in the weather forecast, it's surprisingly accurate for what weather is going to be in the next 24 hours. The lightning detector is kind of cool. Tells you when lightning happens in the distance from the lightning strikes. It really works great. We had a day of thunderstorms a couple of weeks back. Oh man, it couldn't stop. It couldn't stop telling me there were lightning strikes. So it was pretty cool. So the wind direction and speed and everything is really cool. Also, it's nice, and honestly, it's very nice. I rant a little bit about that moon phase and stuff like that, but honestly, it's a beautiful station, a very nice one too. Dwayne from Northeast Tennessee. Nice to have you here. 11 Jane 4610 is the UK weather fax station. It sends out weather fax that you can decode on your computer. So what it does is it cycles through with different pictures. When the picture ends, it stops, comes back, and then starts again with a new picture. So you have different pictures that you can get. I get it here from time to time, decoding some of the pictures from the UK. John Hummel Newell, V5JHN. Nice to have you on board. Says for the first time this year, I'm sitting on the deck enjoying a beer. Cool. Bruce Corbett, N9BH. Nice to have you on board. Says click thumbs up. Thomas Kitts. Nice to have you on board, Tom. And Susie. And hi to sweet Kitty Paul. Tom says hello. Tom's favorite radio that he has, the ICF 7600. It's a great radio. Can't complain about that. It's a great radio. I'll tell you that. PNF Radio. Are you waiting for any new related devices, radio antenna, or something else? Right now, no. It's not because I'm not looking. I definitely am constantly looking at different things. One of the things that a few of you have talked about in the last couple of weeks that I've been looking at is the Kato K829. Here in Canada is overpriced, so I'm not getting that. That's definite. Not at the price that if I can get it at a price that will be decent, say $50 Canadian. Yeah, okay. I'll take it. But the lowest price in Canada, in any way, is about 125 Canadian dollars. I mean, you go on Amazon US and you get that thing for 40 US dollars or even less. So it's kind of really like, it's too expensive. Brian, just fired up my first ever shortwave radio, Texan PL 880. Don't really know how to use it yet, but that's why I'm here, and you're at the right place, my friend. Where are you located, Brian? Just out of curiosity. Canadian Radio TV guy. Just got my Class 7 driver's license test today. Congratulations on that. Roberto Roja, 6236 music. It's possible. There's a lot of Euro pirates around the 6 megahertz range. So it's not impossible. Jason Roberts just got the SDR player SPDX on Thursday. Had lots of fun last night getting E-Skip on the FM band. Picked up FM stations from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and West Virginia. Cool. Storms, Radios, and Cats. There's an FM station on 87.9 near me that broadcasts from a church covering 5 miles on Sundays. I called it the Preaching Pirate. A lot of them are getting busted. A lot of them are getting busted for doing this. And now with the enforcement getting even more, they're getting more budget on the in the FCC to get them down. Even worse, now the FCC. So if you are, for example, if you're the landlord of a building, and one of your tenants is doing an FM pirate, the FCC can not only get the FM pirate, but can also fine the landlord for having a pirate in his building, which is kind of, whoa, okay. You know, Tarek, muffled, the words reminds me of Radio Cairo. That's pretty much how I sounded like with that AM transmitter. I can now relate to Radio Cairo. That was a Radio Cairo AM transmitter when I was young. Oh, man. Michael, my drink today is live sparkling probiotic kombucha. New fashioned root beer. Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. And if it's cold with ice, and a hot summer day must be great. So, yep, 461011 Jane is weather facts. You can decode it with software called FLDG on a PC. You can also decode it with a smartphone, tablets with different apps. RJ Dakota 17855 11780 would be just fading in. 17855 is Spain. 1170 is Brazil, absolutely. 11 Radio, CB was a blast. Yep. Kirby DC, that's a lot of transmitting on the talkie. Yep. But I mean, they were like the ones we had back then were 100 milliwatts, the basic ones. They were made to last. I mean, I remember as an experiment, I stuck the press the hold button, press the talk button, so that it was always on transmit. And I put it next to a tape recorder, and I played like a 120-minute tape, which meant it was 1 hour each side. And I would go out and walk around to see how far I could receive. And I mean, that thing sometimes was stuck in transmit for 4, 5, 6 hours and still works. It still worked like, years later. They were pretty good, pretty well built for that. Alex, is AM or FM better nowadays? Well, there are two different modes. So it depends what you're listening to, because you don't have much FM on shortwave because it takes too much bandwidth. And so there's nothing much that you can do on FM except there's a 10-meter band and there's a little bit in the 25 megahertz range. There's some CBers in Europe. But, narrow FM is much wider than AM mode. So it's really more of a question of where you're transmitting. In terms of audio quality, FM is and does sound superior. But good AM is pretty good also. Listen to some of these AMs on 80 meters, the AMers on 3885-ish. I mean, Some of them sound great. Papa just ordered a PL330. Excited. You should be. And you're going to have that real fast. I can tell you. A Nonco, you're going to be surprised at the speed that you get at the radio. What else do we have? Western Churchill, Garden Gnomes. Paul Taylor, local old timer, does a music show every Christmas on CB. That's cool. I mean, who's gonna, what's gonna happen if I would, I had this crazy idea once of, start use your CB and start a, go on channel 20 and start a Saturday night 2 hour show about radio and stuff. Who cares? You might even have a following. Nobody's going to come and knock down your door and say, hey, you are illegally doing whatever. It's like, nobody cares. As long as you don't interfere with somebody, as long as you don't interfere with some big, the FM pirates, they get caught for one very simple reason. They get caught because they often interfere with actually the intentional broadcasters on the FM band. And that is one of the reasons they often get caught. And of course, who gets caught usually? People that, somebody somewhere called in and, complained or something. 11 Jane, 1660, pirate found. In Europe, there's a lot of pirates on the AM bands. John Beckham, Spain on 17855, Radio Marti on 7335. Two loudest shortwave broadcasts here in Northeast Florida on Seawood on R108. Planscott, hello. Upper and lower sideband is used in the amateur radio range of frequencies and on the utility. But when we talk about international broadcasts like on 11780, it's important to understand that that's AM mode on shortwave. Also, where you live will decide what you listen to. Very, very important. If you are in, like what we hear does not mean you're going to hear it, and doesn't mean your radio's broken, doesn't mean that, something's bad. It's really a question of where you live and at the time that it is of day. Oh, guys, 11143.5, upper sideband 11144, Morse code. You guys probably hear it here. 11144. The Morse code you hear is a number station from Moscow, Russia. So 11144, I can hear it here. It's a number station via Moscow, Russia, one of the spy number stations, sending his message in Morse code. It's decent here. The other thing you got to understand, Brian, is the fact that noise around you. If you're in your home with the radio, you might have too much noise around you. I would recommend you go outside a little further away from the houses, like in a park or something, and try your radio there. You might see that it comes alive with a lot more stuff to listen to. That is one of the biggest problems with shortwave, is and what's killing the hobby in part the noise level, because it's surprising what you can hear on shortwave. 11 radios. There used to be an old guy in Georgia who makes his own CB linear amps out of mason jars. Wow. Vahislav, nice to have you here from Serbia. Thomas Kitts up North Michigan. James Binder, nice to have you here. Let's check out what we have here. Art Dodd, nice to have you here. A VT radio coworker once told me that their neighbor's high-power CB was getting into her appliances with some bad language. Yeah, that's the first thing you have to do if it's a big problem. Where there was a friend of mine that lived not very far from here that I would go to on we would watch movies on Saturday nights, and at one point he tells me, sometimes in the evening I hear this weird sound coming out, distortion coming out of my speakers, and I'm like, oh, really? So one Saturday night, that distortion starts, and immediately I recognized it was single sideband, and I was like, oh, well, you've got a ham around you. And one Saturday I had a radio with me. I said, when it starts, I'm going to start tuning the AM bands. And there was a guy on 80 meters. That was probably very close, and he was getting into all of his appliances. So what we did, we added some so we could hear the Morse code station. So we added some torids on his speaker wires, and everything was back to normal. Yeah, John Newell, I'm thinking about it. That ham channel needs to be doing something. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do something without getting exhausted and doing too many live shows and too many videos. But like this week I was doing some ham radio, and I thought, well, probably would have been nice to, to show my operating procedures and show to everybody, the contacts that I made and so on. Give me time to figure out something. Give me time to figure out something. John Beckham says it's a WKRP in Cincinnati marathon weekend on the Decades TV network. I love that. They're all on. They're pretty much all on YouTube. If you guys want to watch WKRP in Cincinnati, pretty much all on YouTube now. CB Ariel Anderson says CB radio is my beginning to become a ham. Heard a station from Montreal today on 20 meters, 1419559 here. Hey, maybe we could have had a contact. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec. And as I have Sheldon here, I just want to remind everybody that next Wednesday, there's no show, June the 8th, because me and Sheldon will be at Kraftwerk 3D concert. So no shows on Wednesday evening this week. The next show will be next week, Saturday at 20 hours UTC. Francis Moore, nice to have you here from Birmingham, UK. Kamikaze, 1976. Well, nice to have you here from West Michigan. Paul Taylor, new Eton Elite supposedly coming. We're gonna when it's out, we'll talk about it. It's been promised for such a long time. Ron C, nice to have you here from Saint-Hubert. Quel Capel, près de Montréal. Nice to have you here. Carol, W7WXV. Good afternoon. Nice to have you here. Got X Spain, S5 on 17855. Greg, thinking about getting desktop receiver. Well, honestly, overpriced. Overpriced. PLF radio, it's a Kato KA29. KA29. Tanamus never been able to properly set slant in FLDG to get decent WFAX copies. Yeah, maybe I should do a video. One of the things I want to say about FLDG, your computer, if it's bogged down by too many processes and too many things, one of the flaws of FLDG is the breakup of the decode. So you'll have a clean decode, then it breaks up and part of it is moved. That breakup often happens because your PC is too bogged down by too many things. So if you've got an old PC, FLDG sometimes a hard time. You might be better off using multi-PSK for the codes of the WeatherFax when that happens. But for the rest, the slant and the and also there's a black bar when you decode WeatherFax. That also you just move the black bar to the edge, one of the edges. It doesn't matter if you put it on the left side or right side. Another little trick about WeatherFax decoding, like with FLDG, FLDG is capable of checking the start header of a WeatherFax, because when it starts brand new with a new picture, it sends information to tell the software the centering of the picture. This definitely helps FLDG already give you a picture that usually doesn't slant, or if there's a slant, it's very small. Conceal me the stand and or frame for my MLA30. Bye broomstick. Cool. 11 Jane, that's 20-meter amateur radio bands. It's an upper sideband. Storms, rages, and cats. You think actually it was actually summer with that heat in Kentucky. Summer really starts June 21st. Yep. I think, Greg, the ICOM R9500 is a little over. Personally, I find that overpriced for what it is. You're better off with a good, a less expensive, good radio. Catalan, let's say we have a long wire battery at the end with an LED. The long wire will be tuned for a given radio station by its precise length. If I hook up an LED, will it light up when the amplitude is high? I don't think there's enough power to light up an LED. I would be surprised that unless you're really close, like for example, to an AM broadcast that has 50,000 kilowatts and that you're really close to it, I'd be surprised there's enough energy in there to light up an LED, personally. Khalid, nice to have you here from Riyadh. So, the name is 11144. Tosin Loaf, I hear 11144. Carol, not hearing the CW, which is still going on right now. Jason Roberts receiving Russian numbers station, very weak signal. Storms, Rages, and Cats, very weak. Daniel Mark LeBlanc, nice to have you here from New Brunswick. Listening on the cell phone from a takeout parking lot. Carl Icon sounds like it's repeating message. Luigi has 11144 S9 plus 20 in France. I'm not surprised. These transmissions, I'm pretty sure, are for the European area. I'm pretty sure Europe is targeted in there. What else do we have? Run. That's I did years back. Channel 20 and CB, the Banana Channel. No license for CB, I think. John Stewart copied the format a bit. We did it first. The I don't remember what year they dropped the requirement of CB licenses, but it was somewhere in the early 80s, I believe. When I came into the CB it just stopped, by the way, 11144, which was the a number station, spy number station from Russia. And just gonna check something here. In 2 minutes, if you guys want to try, 16039 upper sideband. By experience, I noticed that it's better when you're 1 kilohertz down. So F06 search it's called. So I believe when it says search, it means maybe it's going to be there. 1602039. 16039. I'm just going to check out here. 16039. What is, search. I'm just going to check for it here. So this one is transmitted from Moscow, Russia also. Yeah, when it says search, so it might not be there actually, because search is, what they're saying is that we think it's going to be on that frequency, but maybe not. So if you guys want to try it, 16039 upper sideband, sounds like a kind of radio teletype if you want. Alex can hear it in Germany. Dwayne, no copy in Tennessee. Nick Sharp, 11144 is decoding an FLDG with lots of fives. I think what it does, and I'm not sure, but I think what they're doing is they're sending not standard Morse code, but kind of Russian Cyrillic lettering. So it sounds weird when we try to decode. Brian says, I'm leaving the backyard away from my house as much as possible. I have a wire antenna clipped to the tree branch. But even that might not be enough. That wire that you clip to a tree branch can actually be picking up noise from all around you. So I don't know what's the level of noise around where you are, but that's one thing that you need to consider. Amos, and surprisingly not picking it up at all in Texas. Neil Rigby has the number station. 11 Jane picking it up from the UK. St. Farrell's posted a video of 11144. Errol Anderson, 11144 is 9 plus 40 dB. Alex, does the stream have a delay? No, I'm the guy that's behind because I'm trying to catch up in the chat room. I'm about 10 minutes behind right now. Joe Gomez from San Diego, California. Nice to have you on board. Tosin Love. Yeah, it's Russian Cyrillic that's being sent. It's not standard. It's not standard letters and numbers, so it might sound weird when decoded. PLF radio is getting 11144 very clear. Seal Maximus Hardwood checking in. Nice to have you here. Mark Fry, nice to have you on board from North Carolina. Joe Spring from Milton, Florida. Air Spy HF Plus Discovery and a U-Loop. Robert Cross has 11145. Very good. The name is rest in peace, Florian. Okay. Carl Icon should 11144 BCW. Yep, it is. Johnny Sorrentino, nice to have you here from New York City. Greg, so like I said, the Icon ICR 9500 is kind of, personally find that overpriced. St. Pharaoh's comparing 501X and RFB 45 on FM. B45 is winning. It's heroic for FM and medium wave. Weird fact, a station 2 week for the 501X can be received on the B45 tuned to its. But you know what? St. Pharaoh's could be the reason behind that. One of the things you got to know is that the 501 has an FM antenna jack. So it might be intentional that it's not as sensitive, so that once you plug in that external antenna, it doesn't go crazy over FM signals everywhere. But that said, it's totally possible. I have not tested FM much on on pretty much any of my radios in general. Maybe that could be an interesting series of videos. Pick up, like for me, my standard beacon that I always talk about is 1079. 1079 is WVPS station out of Burlington, Vermont. And, I test the radio to see it's good enough when it gets that. Now, my 501X does get it really well. But, it's possible that the FM isn't that great also. I mean, I wouldn't, not all radios are equal. And all radios, even the good ones that we choose, is not necessarily, it's not necessarily good everywhere. Every radio has flaws. Every radio has these little weird things, but it's definite that there's differences. And maybe the 501X flaw could be FM is less sensitive than on others. It could be that the B45 is a great performer. Also, there are a couple of models that could be really amazing. So maybe the 501 is good. Maybe the B45 is just one of those exceptional FM radios. All of that is possible. Alan, nice to have you here from the UK. Sir Maximus Hardwood, any recommendations for a first CB radio? Honestly, with the state of... That's interesting. It went back to some weird thing on my screen there. For the state of CB today, and I don't know what activity you have in your area, one of the things that I would probably do is try to find a cheap, go to a I don't know, some thrift store or whatever where they sell all sorts of things. Get yourself a cheap CB radio that works well. I'm not much into telling people to buy something on CB for CB itself, but it depends what you have, where you are. One that I have, and then I think I can actually take it out right now, that I have to say is great, but it's expensive. Honestly, for just CB, it is a little expensive. But let me just try to pick it up here. And I need to actually plug it back in because it's not been used for a little while. But this is a great model. This is the Uniden Bearcat 980 SSB. I haven't plugged it back since I've been doing some AM radio, but I want to use it again. It's a great radio with single sideband on it and everything. But I'm gonna tell you, in the US, there's the new possibility of FM now. That's maybe something I want to look at. And if you're in Europe, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there. That's for sure. I think it depends where you live and what's the what use you want to have for it. What's the traffic like? How many people are on the CB? Chris MQ7CUU from the UK. Nice to have you here. St. Pharaoh's, which fact might be a shielding effect from QRM. Moving the F501X also helps. Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes And on FM particularly, when we test, having the radios just side by side, just that little distance between one and the other, sometimes makes a huge difference in how well you receive an FM station. It's crazy. Let me go down here. Callian, do you still use the MLA30 antenna, and do you recommend it in a residential area with full electricity? Yeah, if you have a lot of noise, if you're um, if you're in a area where having a fancy antenna is out of the problem, if you have a lot of noise and you don't receive well because you're just surrounded by noise, DMLA30 will be one of your only hopes and to get some signals. I mean, I live in the middle of the city here, so definitely it's something that that could help. Gabriel, nice to have you here from Uruguay, CX32SWL. Brad Shamer, nice to have you here. Bradley, Northern Illinois. Alan, for a cheaper price, why not a AOR MK2 or Yaesu VR5000 general coverage? Just a thought. And for even cheaper, it's my personal opinion, but none of these radios are worth their prices today. Not with what we have as quality of some of the best radios out there right now, including SDRs. And I think SDRs in particular are killing that high-end market. Don Fraser, nice to have you here from North Carolina. To name is Jerry Ellsworth did an interesting experiment with antenna energy, lighting up neon bulbs, but it was from transmitting rather than receiving. Yeah. There's energy, definitely energy. In even in the reception. I mean, what you're getting is an electromagnetic wave that gives a small amount of current that your receiver is actually getting. For the receive part, it's difficult to really light up any kind of, even an LED, which does require very low current. But I don't think it's impossible. If you're in the really close vicinity of a strong medium wave station, for example, it could be actually a possibility from the very high magnetic environment from the radio waves. I wouldn't be surprised. It's like if anybody ever tried, if you have some really high powered lines like going overhead somewhere at night, if you hold a neon tube, okay, in the air, just straight under, it actually glows slightly. The power lines above is the magnetic field around it is so strong that it actually is capable of lighting the neon slightly. I was on a bicycle 10 years ago. It was a very hot, humid day, and I went through a path in a park here on the east end of Montreal that has high-powered lines going through it. As I reached and passed under the high-powered lines on my bike was made with an aluminum frame. Everywhere where my skin touched the frame, it pinched like you were pinching me real hard. And it kind of surprised me. And what I understood is that in that humid summer day, the magnetic field was strong enough to induce a slight current that was going through my body and the body of my bicycle. And I learned later that if you pass under high powered lines like that in a humid day, hold a metal part of your bike real tight so that there's the least resistance possible, and it's going to prevent that. But boy, was I surprised. The first time ever in my life that happened, and I just couldn't believe it, that just passing under high powered lines was enough to do that. It was crazy. JD Dakota, if you live close enough to a large radio station, you can use a crystal set to light a tiny LED. The amount of energy is sufficient to light up a very small lamp. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I guess if you're close enough, I think it could definitely work. Andy News, CB became legal in the UK in 1981. Wow. Okay. Chris, MQ7CUU got a President Lincoln. Those are popular. Harold Anderson got my Texan PL330 because of your channel and here at YouTube. Cool. Jason Roberts, have you modified MLE30 in any way? I'm looking at ideas to improve its performance. Already replaced the factory loop with 8-gauge copper wire. I've never modified it because everywhere that I have seen modifications, pretty much no one sees an improvement. You could improve it, yes, and like for example, if you put copper tubing or whatever, it's much more sturdy and all of that, absolutely. But I've never seen anyone show an improvement in the reception. If somebody shows me that, I put a loop twice the size and it's better, okay, could be an interesting idea. But anyways, experiment and give us the details. Serge, any opinion on the ICOM ICR 8600 communications receiver? Lack of DRM, really that a bummer. It's not just lack of DRM that's a bummer. DRM would have been fun. There's much more than that in the 8600. It's a little bit like the I've gotten here the ICOM ICR 30 portable that was given to me because the person that got it didn't like it. I don't really like it that much either. It's for the price paid, it ain't that great. Where I stand on the 8600, it's not that it's a bad performer as a radio. I mean, I'm sure performance on listening to shortwave, listening to VHF, UHF is probably superb. And that's not where my rant is going on the 8600. Where it's going is where ICOM doesn't go because of proprietary proprietary types of transmissions that it doesn't want to add to its own radios, stuff like that. That for me keeps, even if I had the money, keeps me away from getting one of those. I think they've not been able to deliver what would have been the top-notch ICOM tabletop. It's missing on so many things that's where I stand on. It's expensive for what it is. Remember, it's an SDR. It is a computer with a software-defined receiver. It's just that they put it in a box with knobs and buttons to make it like a good, make it like a good tabletop. But is it worth buying? I'm not there. For the price sold, I'm not there. Doesn't mean that it's no good. It's not what I'm saying. But it's lacking too much stuff that could have been there. But it's like a competition, so they're not going to add certain things that are popular. For example, there's a lot of other types of communications that can be decoded on VHF, UHF, and on the ham bands. That like DMR should have had that. You already would have increased the value of what you're getting as a radio. Alan still has a UK Uniden 200 and an old MK1 Cobra 148 GTL DX. David in Barcelona, ¿cómo está mi amigo? Brad Shaver, Texan 380, but impressed small size. Oh, it's a nice radio. Definitely a nice radio. Carol W7 WXV, hearing Radio New Zealand 15720. Here's a little early for that. It comes in later in the evening. Log 2112, nice to have you here from Texas. Well, if you're going to get a CB for the UK, get a multi-band, multi-mode CB. There's not that much on the UK anymore. Yeah, it really depends where you are, honestly, for that. Let's see overall. How do you find eBay compared to Amazon? I know big cost difference, but is as secure, meaning return policy and delivery speed. I put eBay and Amazon in two different categories. Honestly, two different categories. For me, eBay is more of like a flea market of radio, where Amazon is really a general store of you get everything. First of all, so for me, eBay will be purchasing stuff you don't find anywhere else, and that's always been pretty much where I stand. Where I used eBay. I've purchased over 1,000 items on eBay over all the years that I've been a member, and I haven't. Last time I've purchased something on eBay was the Panasonic RFB 300, and I had not purchased anything on eBay for a long time before that. Um, when you get a bargain on eBay, it's really really nice. Um, the um, the eBay is you just have to be careful and check the details of who is selling you whatever. You don't buy an item that's expensive out of the guy that sold three things, because you're looking for trouble. But you'll buy an expensive item from somebody that sold 100,000, not 100,000, 10,000, 1,000 items, 500 items, and has a certain rating standard that is high enough, kind of a minimum to check. As for the return policies, even on Amazon, you got to be careful. But because you're under the Amazon, well, even eBay, if you complain to PayPal and start doing, litigation, and you go against the seller on PayPal, you'll eventually win and get your money back. It's just that it's a complex procedure. On Amazon, most of the sellers, it's much easier because Amazon doesn't, you don't need to go crazy. Amazon is like, okay, you're not happy? Okay, we're going to give a chance for the other guy to say something, but, where that return policy is much more enforced. That said, you got to be careful because on Amazon, when it's sold and shipped by Amazon, yeah, its service is great. When it's sold and shipped by somebody else via Amazon, that's where it gets a little tricky. You might not have the return policy that you hoped, and you might have to pay shipping to send it back, just like on eBay. So, I've had quite a lot of purchases on eBay, but honestly, I've had very little problems because I'm always careful where I purchased. Sometimes, you have to be patient. Where it became tricky on eBay was a lot of everything that was, during the pandemic. During the pandemic with the lockdowns and everything, yeah, it's possible that thing is not going to come in the 6 weeks that it was supposed to be there. It might take. I had the last two problems I had was with the Chinese Malahit SDR, and the ATS 25 radio, DSP radio. They just came at a very, very long time. So what happened is I, um, ordered. They said it's going to be like, maximum 8 weeks before you get it, which is a very long time to wait, anyways. But you got it at, you know, 8 weeks passed and you still don't have it. And you're kind of, well, I spent, $100 on something, or whatever. And that's where it was long because of pandemic and all. And I did finally receive them. Now they refunded me with, the idea that if I get it, send the money back. What I did is on the Malahide, because I had so many problems with it, the hell with it, I didn't send anything. The ATS 25, I got it. So I did contact them and I said, look, I got it. It took a long time. So if you guys want your money, I'm going to send you the money. And they were kind of nice because the delay was so long that instead of the original price that was sold for, they gave me kind of rebate. So I got it for like half the price and at the final. I think they were just happy that, okay, I got it and I'm going to send some money back. So if you're careful, eBay is not a bad place to trade. The biggest problem of eBay is less and less are you finding things that are really, really at a decent price. And less it's getting a good idea to buy there. Amazon, same thing. You got to be careful. Ship by Amazon, no problem. Ship by some guy in China, sold by Amazon. It's not necessarily much better than buying something on eBay. You just got to be careful with the seller, how many things he sold. And the biggest problem about certain items, particularly, like I give an example here, an item like this one, the RTL SDR V3. One of the biggest problems with this thing, counterfeit. You don't know sometimes if you get a real one or not. So there are things you stay away from. It all depends what you want. Each will have their good points, their bad points. Pretty much what I have to say about the two. BT Radio might pick up a Radio Shack SW100 later this year from a family trying to clean a house full of stuff. Already picked up a few boat anchors from them. Oh, wow. Cool. Like 2112 got some 10-meter action FT8. Virgin Islands, Brazil, Argentina, Belize. Cool. Coffee Bibber just got back into CB after almost 25 years. Got a President Andy out here in St. Louis, Missouri area. There's quite a bit of activity. I am constantly surprised by how much activity. Yeah, it really depends a lot on where you are, honestly. Landy Quadriski, new broadcast, 6 Eastern Standard Time from Farpoint Farms, Eric in South Carolina. Okay. Yeah, Richard Wagner. Just move your car just a couple of inches and a big difference. Absolutely. Chris MQ7CUU, thinking of getting Nikon 7300. It's a very popular rig. A lot of people are happy with it. Like 2012 got an R75, great radio. What else do we have? The name is to get close enough to the transmitter and you can just hold a fluorescent tube. Yeah, same for the power lines. Alan says, if I had the money, you would like to have a Yisu FTDX10. Gary Pence, nice to have you on board. KM5X in Dallas, Texas. Greg, when a CB has SSB, do you need a license? No, CB radio doesn't need a license anymore. Joe Tyson, I bet back in the day, if you were near WLWAM's 500 kilowatt station, it would probably light an LED. I wouldn't be surprised. With big power, I wouldn't be surprised. So David has noticed some improvements on the MLA30. So that could be interesting. Check out his improvements, what he changed. Going to be interesting. I should take out one of my MLA30s and that I haven't on views and try maybe different things. Dennis, nice to have you on board. K4FVB, the USA. Keegan DXer, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. So no, Greg, no license needed. Andy knew you could always buy an ICOM 9000, but you need to mortgage your house. Almost. Have a choice, the ICOM 9000 or a car. What do I buy? Buy a new car, a new radio. Like 2012, is there anyone out there who knows something about decoding the more Russian SAS modes? I get a lot of odd link 11 here, but ain't sending it right. Because link 11, I don't know if there's anything to decode in link 11. One of the things that I did a lot is what's the mode? I forgot the mode. Man, I got to remember. I'm going to try to remember. Doug Smith, nice to have you here. Joe Spring, no way I'm spending 2,000 plus on a radio. I mean, I got that radio, would have to be amazing for me to pay a price like that. The last time I purchased a really expensive radio was the ICOM SCRD 500. I'm happy with it. It's nice, but I look at what I have today, and it's like I hear everything that I hear on that radio with everything else. It's more of, well, it's a nice stable top receiver. Cool. If I'd go back in time, knowing that what I'm going to get in the next 10 years as receivers, I might have never purchased the 8500 actually. Al, is the ICOM 8600 the only tabletop radio manufacturer now? I believe the AOR 5000 is still manufactured. If I'm not mistaken, is still manufactured. I don't think it's the only one left, but there aren't a lot left for sure. Like 2012, got Columbia on 20 meters. Thank you, Francis, for the tip. Much appreciated. Don't forget, guys, that we have the super chat available for tips. If you want to give me a little something, it goes towards buying your radios. So if you think what I'm doing is worth it, don't hesitate. Alan, buying used ham gear, I look up some of the ham radio dealers in their used sections. Some do give you a warranty on their used items, so you have peace of mind and insurance. It's always very complicated to buy old stuff. Chris, MQ7CUU, not done FT8. Do a lot of D-Star and having a dabble in C4. Kamikaze 76 on Wednesday. I needed a wireless router same day, so I ordered from Best Buy for the first time in a long time. Normally, it is it by most everything on Amazon. Misanthrope, which shortwave portable radio has the best sensitivity and selectivity? Most of the modern radios are good enough in sensitivity and selectivity. You know what? Sensitivity and selectivity is almost not something you talk about today in radios, in the portable radios, for example. Most of the radios are based on that DSP chip. I have multiple bandwidths. And for sensitivity, most of the radios we talk about here are all pretty much equal in sensitivity. It's not like in the 70s or 80s where you really had a huge difference between one radio and the other. One was more sensitive, one drifted more, one was, one had filters that were too wide. There's not much of that anymore. Pretty much everything new you buy today, as long as you choose between the models we talk about here all the time, you got a great radio, and you don't have to pay a high price for it too. Levy Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. No problem, Ron. Happy to answer the questions. Brian Penny from Cape Cod, nice to have you here. So, yep, CB radio is going to FM. Not here in much in Canada, but in the US, FM is now allowed. Levy Nathan, ARRL digital modes contest today and tomorrow. All digital modes. Only RTTY, no. Like 2112, FT8 is cool as hell. It's a question of what you like and what you don't like. I don't like FT8, but I don't think it. When I hear a grumpy ham come and say, "Well, FT8 is killing the hobby," no, it's not. And if you're happy and like it, that's the only thing that's important, honestly. I don't use it. I don't plan to use it soon. I'm way more different digital modes I would try before doing that. But if I see all of these people doing FT8 and being happy and having fun with that, it's cool. But I'm having fun with the voice right now, and I'm making it into Europe quite easily. So I've been getting quite a few countries in Europe, and with a better setup, I'm going to get even more countries. Joseph, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay Area, California. Storms, radios, and cats. In the beginning, WLWAM was 500,000 watts. Was heard on toasters, radiators, bed springs, you name it. Not surprised. With that power, if you're not that far. Yeah, Link 11 is probably all encrypted anyways, like Zanfaro says. Dr. Sisup, nice to have you here. Last night in the UK, back to US tomorrow. So, kind of interesting you didn't hear WWV, WWVH. Often hear it when I go to some of the QESDRs. I often hear them, but definitely it's not as easy as in North America. Eric Cottrell, the ICOM R9000 LCD version is better of the two. I would not buy the CRT version. So I didn't even know they upgraded the version. So that would be, definitely. LCD version would be better than the CRT one. Gabrielle says, in Uruguay, you can get an official CB license with no exam required. The format with the call sign is CVC plus 4-digit number. So you got to have your license, but there's no exam. Well, like it was here in the past. In the past, when in the 70s in Canada, you needed a license. What you needed was simply to fill out the paperwork because there was no exam required. So, so it's interesting. So you guys need a license. When I'm talking about license requirement, pretty much talking about Canada and US, but definitely around the world, the licensing is very different. the licensing is very, very different. Laura Robertson from Georgia, KO4DFJ. Nice to have you here. Well, in the US, you're stuck, unless you're in the East Coast, sometimes you get stuff, but for the most part, you're stuck with non-directional beacons. John McClure, nice to have you here. Zenfraros, the only sensitivity thing about modern radios now is dynamic range in case you want to use passive loops or other low signal antennas for noise reasons. So yeah, that could be something to check out. Robertson, ATIS 25, no luck with telescopic. It should work to get you some signals, because I used it with the telescopic quite a few times. Did get some shortwave broadcasts. Make sure that the attenuation isn't on, because it should get you some stuff. Now, the radio, the ATS 25 itself, is noisy a little bit on some range of frequencies, but go outside to a park or something. You should get stuff. Simone, you skipped my question. I didn't see your question, and I don't know where it is because I'm really. Can you post it again, please? It'll be easier for me than to. I'm just gonna check quickly, but it's not impossible. I skipped the question. I didn't see it. I'm trying to go as fast as possible, so sometimes it can happen. I am sorry. Arches Helicopter's Kitchen. Should check out the Angry Photographer on YouTube. Done lectures and scientific papers on magnetism. So yeah, I don't know where your question. If you could post it again, would be very nice, Simone. I'm really sorry about that. It does happen that I. So John K6RXD from Los Angeles, California. Nice to have you here. Dr. Sisop says that whoops, 2-meter band here is busy here. 440 isn't much. Erica Trell, AR 5000 no longer available. Quick list of tabletop radios available are the ICOM 86, the 9500, the AOR AR 5700D, and AR 5001D. Okay, cool. Thanks for the answer, Eric. Alex, Kiwi SDR is so confusing. Yeah, you got to. That's definitely something you've got to get the hang on. I got a few videos that I posted on showing on how to tune the Kiwi SDRs and so on. Maybe I should do a few more. It would help out. Thank you, Gabriel, for the tip. This is for the CVF, the Cranberry Vodka Fund. Thanks, man. Alan says FT8 has been in a great mode while the band conditions have been so poor. Hopefully now conditions are improving. People will go back to the mic soon. But, we got to be careful with that, Alan, about band conditions being so poor. It's an impression that is not necessarily the reality. Because if you choose the correct band and the correct times, I'll say it again and again. I don't know how many times I've said it. The best DX I've made, the best DS catches I've made over time were at low points in solar cycles. And we've got to be careful with what we give. It's nice. The higher frequencies are propagating more. But even in low solar activity, you can DX the world if you just choose the correct frequencies and time. I think there's a lot of an impression in there that isn't right. We got to be careful. I mean, I've heard hams all over the world during the low point of the solar cycle in voice. I mean, it's just that FT8, because of its low signal capability, is king of contacts, because compared to voice, it is going to pierce through that noise. Even if it's weak and almost unreadable, your computer's software is going to decode it, and it's going to be there. So that's the advantage of FT8. So it gives an impression of, FT8's there when the bands are bad. It's more of an impression of, well, the bands might not be that bad. It depends, but FT8 will work even in conditions that are just iffy. So it definitely is for, and for modest stations, it's definitely a way of communicating for stations that aren't using a lot of power and have very modest antennas. Absolutely, you're DXing the world with FT8, and if you like that, that's all that counts, honestly. Joe Something US, nice to have you here from Brazil. Thank you for the tip, much appreciated. Jen Farrow's Chesapeake Weather 6501 Upper Side and back to its old sloppy signal with a vengeance. We were wrong on Wednesday to think they fixed it. Yeah, I think it's random. I've noticed that sometimes it sounds good, and you're like, well, they might have fixed it, and the next day it's crappy, and it's like, no, they didn't fix it. So maybe something is just like randomly going good or not, So Nick Sharp, FT8 has given me confidence that my long wire aerial is good, reaching a signal from South Africa today, Southern Argentine, Indonesia in the past few days. Listening to faraway shortwave stations is hard. So it's definitely, it gives an edge. It gives a little something more, because, like I was just saying, the low signal capabilities of FT8, is going to give you, definitely you'll have an easier time making an FT8 contact, say with Indonesia, than voice, because voice has one problem: is you got to understand the other station. Maybe you're not going to understand that station well enough, where the computer in FT8 will get that code and that information and will just show it on your screen. So it does give an edge more. And if it brings you to a point where, well, it's cool, I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with it's it's cool. I mean, I don't like it, but a lot of people do, and that's all that counts. Misanthrope, which radio do you recommend between the XH Data D808 and the Texan PL680? If you want to have a radio that tunes without muting, the Texan PL680. If you want a radio that, if it doesn't matter, and you want a radio that has RDS for FM, XH Data D808, that's pretty much what difference you'll have between one and the other, basically. SSB is a mode of transmission, Misanthrope, so you'll get signals from everywhere around the world on ham radio and utilities and stuff. Dr. Sis, I'm going to see if Shortwave gets anything from 36,000 feet to the plane tomorrow. I would guess so. The only thing that might prevent you from doing it is maybe the plane's fuselage or some interference you might get from whatever electronics is on board. What else do we have? Alan, I also like using WSPR and 200 milliwatts just to give me an indication of how my wire is performing, which is probably what you were saying. Sunfarrow, speaking of sensitivity, the AJC for a lot of radios makes it hard to tell sensitivity. The MLA30 and the built-in whip are actually hard to distinguish on the H501X. That's a pretty serious AJC there. Yeah, well, the AJC is very sharp. It's like the slope of the AJC isn't, they haven't put really it shows in very strong single sideband signals. Samuel Stout, nice to have you on board from Tennessee. Log 2012. Anyone got anything between 8 and 9? Well, usually we have the usual CW beacons from Europe on around 8430 and so on. You might have some marine stuff. On the top of 8 megahertz, you should get some aeronautical stuff. All right, JD Dakota, I just listen for certain stations and times. If I can get a radio in New Zealand, then I can usually get amateurs in the same area in the next ham band down. Yeah, that's one thing that you can check out easily, definitely, is check for a signal near where you want to transmit or hear some, Sunflower is not quite a park, but I'm going to get the rest of the show from the backyard. No problem. Alan is also likes using PSK31. It's on the decline. PSK31 is fun because most people have a conversation, but there's less than there were, but there's still quite a lot. But definitely PSK31 is less than it used to be. Carl Icon has the Spanish numbers on 17480. So pretty cool. No problem, Ms. Anthrop. Happy to be here. I'm here for that. What else do we have here? Let me go back down. Check everything's all right. Did I miss out on anything here? Well, it's okay. Thanks for your answers. When I get outside, my spot is farthest point from my house, way down in the backyard. Log 2112 PM and 11175. Yeah, a long time ago, man. A long time ago. Just want to see if I missed out on anything here. Just trying to find the question here. I saw something. So, okay, what else do we have? Yeah, PSK31, 14070 around there. In the 40 meters, depends if you're listening to PSK31 from Europe or North America. 7070, but there's also, I think, 7030 or 7040. That's one of the spots. Let's check out of here if we hear any PSK31, 14070. 14070 automatic. Let's put some upper sideband. Yeah, look at that. There's some here. FL, let's check FLDG. That high-pitched tone is PSK31. Top mode, PSK31. And there's some stuff here. Yep, there's some decoding going on. If you look at the computer screen and just below the microphone, that's some BPSK here. and 7AME from KV4T, making some contacts. That's one of the. It's quiet when you compare to what it sounded like back in the past, but definitely some. Thank you. Back to you. What I like about PSK, what I liked about PSK 31 is the same thing that I liked um, about the RTTY times. Um, the conversations. There's conversations. Like when you tune around on your SDR receiver, you can check out what's on the bands. Francis Moore using a Yaesu FD818. My front room using an AR mag loop on my desk, nowhere near a window. Picked up operators from Poland, Turkey, and European countries just for listening. Cool. John K6RXD would be cool to watch just scanning around. What else do we have? Tony, greetings everyone from the city of Cork on the south coast of Ireland. Does anyone here have any experience with those SDR pan adapters and or SDR MSI 2500 SDR shows up as RSB1A on a computer? Any good? I haven't dabbled. I could use my Kenwood R5000 as a pan adapter, and I've not done anything with that yet. So I need to check out the different stuff for that here. Definitely. You know what? We're gonna check out a little bit of the bands. We're gonna see here what's there's really a lot of stuff on like 14. A lot of stuff on the bands on 20 meters digital. Let's see what's on the bands here a little bit. We're gonna. Oops, that's a little 11800. Okay, something is weird with my 2500. Nope, that's not what. Okay. I clicked something that I need to change. I was going to restart the SDR. I'm going to turn off this and see what's on the band. I don't know what at this time. There's 9830. Let's check out Voice of Turkey. If you guys want to listen to the Voice of Turkey. It's not super strong, but it is strong. It's a little noisy here, but it's strong. 9830. Voice of Turkey. 9.830. Yep. $98.30 if you guys want to try it. Take care, Luigi. Always nice to have you on board, my friend. No, not yet, Tony. I need to set up for the power because I have to power it and I have to put its antenna just for it. I really need to get on that. It's right there looking at me saying hello. But I have to put that noise cancel eliminator on and test it out. What else do we have? Mike Toronto, V2RHD hooked me up with some folks who had a wealth of knowledge about that range. So anything else here? Dr. Sis have some Arabic on 9580. That's what I'm getting here, 9580. Nothing much here. Nothing much here. Let me just check out what's listed. Arabic on 9580. What could you be getting there in UK? Interesting. There's nothing Arabic on that frequency. At this time, there's the BBC in English from Oman, which should be what could be what you're hearing. This one, 18. Interesting. I don't know what you're getting in Arabic at 9580 there. It's not listed here, anyways. 9580. Yep. 2223 is English for the Far East from Oman for the BBC World Service. Radio Martin on 565. Here, it's still a little early for a lot of stuff from Europe, but checking out the signals here. Man, seem to be okay. Not top shape, but decent. So English from Turkey on 9830. That's one thing we can checking. Actually, they have. So, anyways, English. English. Let me check out here. Go back to the chat. But remember, guys, one thing that I have to say about, when we talk about decline of a mode or something, decline has only one thing to do with ham radio, is that if you don't use it because you fall in the negative mode of there's a decline of this mode, you're not helping. Instead of, like, it's sad that there's a decline, go and call CQ on PSK 31. There will be people answering you. And that is very important to understand. One thing that I realized this week about ham radio. So I was trying for that UK station. And what happens is that I was in a pileup, a big pileup. And that big pileup, well, it's like you got to try and get to a station. Basically, it's kind of interesting because I think people aren't patient enough. I noticed somebody said, well, I tried that station for half an hour and couldn't get it. Well, it took me 45 minutes of sending my call before actually I was able to break through. And what that means is that a lot of people have the impression they might not make it, but are just patient enough and abandon real fast. So we got to be careful with that also. But like I was saying, instead of saying a mode is dead, go on that mode and call CQ. You'll be surprised. You might have to call a few times. You might have to call for 20 minutes. But if you really love a mode and you really like it, use it. It's always the same thing. The more people use the mode, the more people will want to use the mode. It's very, very difficult. It's kind of a momentum thing, What else do we have? Strong. Going down. So what else do we have? Greg, Texan H501X receiver is cool. Electric system, no CHU on all frequencies now. Here I probably will hear 3330, 3330, 3.330. So, yeah, it's in the noise, but it's there. I hear 3330 weak, but in the noise on 3330 CHU. My WX15, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. What else are we here? Like just up here, foreign language, sound Arabic, maybe. So maybe you're hearing something that's not in the listings. The name is currently picking up someone doing CW 12695.5, not normal frequency, right? Absolutely nothing else in the vicinity. That's a marine band. And CW you're hearing on 12695.5, I think, is the KPH station out of California, Point Reyes, California. San Faros 9830 Turkey now as expected. H501 is brilliant. If RFB45 is passable, but not brilliant. Simone, I found that my Texan PL880 in 10, 11 meters SSB sounds really bad. Distorted with a shaky voice only on these bands. The 880, 990, and H501X have one problem there that I've mentioned in one of my videos. And the 10 meter band, or what I usually say is above 25 megahertz, the SSB is a little shaky. Be careful about one thing, because sometimes you can have shaky SSB because your phone is close to the radio. Be careful with that. But definitely there's some distortion or shakiness in the SSB. It goes away below 25, and I don't know why above 25 it has that. It's kind of weird that you'll listen on a 20 meter band or 40 meter band and it sounds perfect, but above 25 it will have some shakiness. It's your radio doesn't have a problem. Zenferos confers CW, CQ, and more so amateur. Nope, CQ is an international code. It's not amateur, but 12695 is KPH. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to try it here. 12.695. Auto. CQ. Yep, KPH. I just got a call. So it's CQ from KPH, which is a marine station out of Point Reyes, California. Actually, if you want to hear it on multiple frequencies, we're going to do that. We're going to try it. The frequencies it's broadcasting, it's Saturday only, by the way. And KPH, it's soon to end, by the way. I think it ends at 23, so it ends in 40 minutes. So 22477.5. Let's try it. 22.477.5. Yeah, I'm hearing it. It's weak, but it's there. So 22477.5. If you don't have CW, tune 22477 upper sideband. So it's there on that frequency. You can also tune in 17016.8, 17016.8. 016.8. Yeah, that one isn't too bad. 17016.8. It's a reactivation of that station that is done every Saturday. 12808.5. Yep, 12808. Then you have that's 695. KFS. Sorry, I got the wrong call sign. I put one dot too much. One dot too much on the. It's KFS on 695, which also comes from Point Reyes, California. But these are all transmissions activated on Saturday only. From on all the frequencies they are on, it's from. Let me just check out here quickly. 17 to 23 UTC on all of their frequencies. Actually. So it's kind of a reactivation that they do for this, but you'll hear them CQ because they're marine stations, and what happens is that they're sending CQ because they're calling for any maritime stations that are out there that can reply back. So when you get that Morse code, you notice that there's a emptiness. There's a moment where there's nothing. It's because they're listening in to see if any stations are replying back. This is the way a lot of marine stations in the past actually operated. Carol W7, whoops, I lost the post. W7WXV. One thing I have noticed is that sometimes a mode or band of spectrum may seem dead until a contest starts. That happens very often. I always joked about how 10 meters, everybody's saying it's dead, it's dead, it's dead. Contest, it's full of signals. So it's like, yeah, it's more like nobody's going there. And, you know, there's this, and let's face it, we all do it. There's this negativity that goes on. There's this like wheel spinning in backwards where you hear all the time 10 meters dead, which gives you the idea that, well, I will not go on 10 meters since these 10 meters dead, rather than just trying to see if. But that happens often, Carol, absolutely. Tony, Voice of Turkey, 9830, hitting S30 plus 46 dB here. Cool. Glenn, nice to have you here from Tennessee. Dr. Sysop, using my PL990X. I got my Greenwich Ethan satellite fixed here. It was a hammer operator. So pretty cool. Thanks, Sharp. What time do you hear Radio New Zealand Pacific? 15/7/20 in Montreal. It's going to start coming in around, I'll notice it's there around 0102 UTC, but it won't be very strong. But as time goes by, the signal gets better. So around 03 UTC, which is 11 p.m. local, usually comes in very well and easy to listen to. Midnight local, 04 UTC, usually is really, really good. There's that little 2-3 hour period where easy to listen to when propagation's good. But it's really a late evening thing here. But you know, you'll notice it's there during the evening, but it'll get better as it gets later and later here. John Ershaw says all bands have been wide open today. Made contacts from 50 megahertz to 7 megahertz. All DX with little QSB on 40 meters. Cool. Dr. Sysop. Yeah, but on 10 meters, it's going to sound distorted. All 990X are like that. It is kind of shaky. I'm wondering if, because that's something that I did think about, I'm wondering if there's a it could be if you have a local station that's really strong on either AM or FM, if that could be the cause of the shakiness. Carlos, nice to have you on board from Poland. Our CQ used to mean come quickly in the 1900s. The name is CQ, KFS. Yep, KFS. So what it says here is CQ, KFS, and they're listening on 12. And please answer on HF channel 3. So any marine stations that would like to reply back would be there. I checked 9940 a little earlier. Didn't seem to be on the air. Very strong NAVTEX on 8427, which is not the normal frequency unless the U.S. Coast Guard changed its schedule. 8427, you're getting one? Let me check that out here. 8427 2826 8427. So you got a NAVTEX station there. That's interesting. Nothing listed here. Have you tried some decoding to see what's on there, Carol? Out of curiosity? You know, it's like the other day, I got a weather fax and a frequency that's like completely out of bounds. If you guys want to try another number station from Moscow, Russia, in Morse code, 9323 9323 in 2 minutes. It's in Morse code and should start in 9323 upper sideband. Sorry, CW, or 9322 upper sideband. So 9323. Let's start 9322 here. Put in upper sideband. We'll see if any Morse code coming out of Moscow, Russia with spine number station. Take care, log 2112. Blogger die, nice to have you here. Hey, Simone. 909X2 does not, but it has other problems. If you're close to an FM station that's very powerful, you won't even be able to listen to that part of the band because it's going to just distort from the overload of FM breakthrough. So no radio is perfect. If you don't have strong FM, the 909X2 should work okay on the 10 meter band or 11 meter. Yeah, I'm hearing it not very strong, but it's there. It's there. 9323 CW. It's a little weak here, but weaker than the other one on 11144, but it's there. Cool, Greg. The name is cool, but now I have no idea how to classify the CW Marine broadcast in AirSpy. Francis Moore. So Rook Tim and Baltimore picked up Cornwall and Glen on 80 meter lower sideband crystal clear. I hear a lot of 80 meter European hams very often. The name is love the fact that I'm still finding relatively novel signals. Yeah, it's cool. Especially when you don't know these things are still on. Our DOD CQD was the first code used as a distress signal, was proposed by Marconi Company and adopted in 1904, replaced between 1906 and 1908 by the SOS code. So you know what, Dr. Sisop, what I think is it depends maybe the environment, because I noticed it's sensitive. I noticed that the Texan 990 and H501 are sensitive to, like, if you put your phone next to them, the that shakiness is everywhere. So I've been wondering if it's not an effect of living near really strong signals. George Hill, nice to have you here from Scotland. Nick Sharp, 93 30 23, very strong. Joseph, lots of noise on 8427. This is definitely a signal, can tell what it is on the California coast. Here on the east, I heard nothing around 8427. Alan receiving 9323 on the TS 430, 920 dB. Joseph, nothing here on 9323 either. So, kind of cool to get these Moscow, Russia number stations coming in. Pretty nice to have all of them here. Yeah, but they're not the same radio, so you can't compare with the XH data. It's probably an effect of the way that the oscillator works in the Texan radio. But it's much. If you listen to 10 meters a lot, it could be a problem. If you listen to other bands most of the time, um, the the precision of frequency display is much more interesting on the Texan. And the other thing to try is to shorten the antenna. If you're using an outdoor antenna, I noticed a few times that by having the signal weaker actually fixes the problems. So it might be something about the signals being very strong also. I don't know. Alan requesting more vodka. Nick Sharp, 9323, seems to decode into a batch of 5 numbers. Yeah, it's possible. I've read somewhere that some of those are 5 number groups. Sorry, guys. Some of those are 5 number groups, so it could be that. Absolutely. Looking at the signals here. So hearing that, 9323. It's very weak here. It was very, very weak here. It's that's one thing about CW Morse code is how it can pierce through um, the uh, the noise. 5140 strong here. What are you getting on 5140? Let's see if I hear anything here on 5.140. What the hell? Nothing here on 5140. I've got this weird noise, and I'm wondering. I got these weird noise spikes right now, and I think it might be my dishwasher actually. Let me check out here. $51.40. You're getting a pirate, Charleston Radio International in Europe. That's what you're getting from Germany. Charleston Radio International from Germany for Europe. So that's a pirate. You're getting that pirate. I am still amazed at how European pirates are, 24 hours, and who cares? So, check something here. Check something here. Okay. I'm gonna share something here. You guys will have an idea because I saw somebody asking about this. Here we go. See. George Hill, and you've been to Florida and the U.S. I've been up and down the East Coast in the 90s, but I haven't been in the U.S. for a long time. CW. The name is what's HF3 is. It's channel 3, not HF3. It's channel 3 that KFS is referring to. I'm going to share a link to maritime bands here. You will see this page is going to give you all the frequencies of the marine channels on shortwave. When you click, for example, the 12 megahertz channels, you'll see that they're referred to as channel 1201, 1202, 1203. So 12 is for 12 megahertz, and then next to it is the channel number 1, 2, 3. So what it tells you is it's asking you for what station is out there. If you want to reply, use channel 3. So you see here you have coast transmit kilohertz and ship transmit frequency. So this is where the answers or the communications would go through. If a boat would communicate, the ship would transmit on 12236 and get a reply on 13083, because that's the channel 3 for the marine broadcast on 12 megahertz, and so on. So you get that information on that page. So that's what channel 3 is referring to in the broadcasts. What else do we have? John K6RXD. Oh yeah, PSK31 is amazing. I remember one day being with a friend, and he's listening, and we hear this weak tone, and we think it's nothing, and that was the first time I decoded PSK31. But PSK31 will give you a full page of text, almost 100% clean, with a signal that's barely audible. That is also very, very interesting about PSK31. Zen Pharaoh 7310 is Radio Romania International. What schedule are you using to not get Radio Romania? Radio Romania is the station on 7310. All schedules should have that. It's a regular. Radio Romania is a regular from 22 to 23 to Western Europe in English. So that's what you're listening to. Francis Moore, losing my marbles, not CQ. I mean CW. One still too much. Take care, Serge from Switzerland. Always nice to have you here. Division 17, thanks. Nice to share all the info. Yep, 7310s and Pharaohs is Radio Romania. It should be in the schedules. It's a standard schedules for everywhere. It says Radio Romania on that frequency. Radio Van is not broadcasting yet on those frequencies right now. 6,000, 6,100. Richard Wagner, 7850, CHU, good in Northeast Illinois. So basically what happens is the general, we're not used to that today, because the marine broadcasts from, the good old days, I mean, for those that are new into the marine channels, because what we're listening now is really the marine channels. is the fact that um, back in the day, there were a lot of communications and there was a lot of traffic from boats. So these channels were really used a lot in communications between ship to shore, and they use duplex frequencies, which means you had to listen to both frequencies in order to get the transmissions. And that was one thing that I liked when I got a second radio, because I could hear monitor one frequency and monitor the other frequency together with two radios. Or else you had to punch in or switch, quickly between channels. Um, Back in the day, what was really fun on these channels is to hear the phone patches. You could listen to people calling home from boats, and you would hear them. And the fun of it was to try to find something in the language you understand, because obviously it's boats on seas everywhere around the world. So getting something in English or French or something you understand was part of the fun, because there's a lot of other stuff. You'd hear German, Italian, whatever, depending on the people. But it was a lot of fun because you could hear the communications coming through from, everywhere. We're not used to that anymore right now, because most of the communications and a lot of what's happening with boats now has been transferred to satellite communications. So we don't have as much stuff happening in the marine bands, which doesn't mean you shouldn't listen. The page that I shared with the medium wave and HF channel information, you guys should monitor these frequencies regularly. You'll be surprised at what you can get if you are listening regularly. There is still some communications going on. Actually, a lot of stations in a lot of countries are actively still monitoring a lot of these frequencies. Um, on Wednesday, we talked about a Canadian Coast Guard publication that I shared that had a lot of information about the Coast Guard information on shortwave that you can get out of Canada. One of on that publication, so in the messenger, the CIDX messenger, I'll be sharing the broadcast frequencies, which are voice broadcasts, NAVTEX transmissions, stuff like that, and weather fax frequencies. But um, what you notice is that publication gives you the ship to shore frequencies of where all the communications going on. And you will be surprised at the amount of frequencies active, monitored for ship to shore communications everywhere. Another when I did my article in the utility column for the messenger about the um, the medium wave to shortwave frequencies used in Europe. You can hear broadcasts and communications ship to shore from Greenland, Iceland, the UK, all the Nordic countries. There's traffic, there's stuff happening. And you guys in Europe are even better placed than here for that type of transmission. So it's kind of interesting. Do monitor all the channels and all the information about marine broadcast, because you will be extremely surprised at what you can get on these frequencies. But today, the difference is you'll have to be patient. You'll have to have a lot more patience, because communications are not as often, it's not like in the 80s or 70s when there's always stuff to listen to. Now it's from time to time there's communication. So what you could do is you just, post your radio on the frequency for ship to shore, leave it there, do something else with, the radio in the background, and you'll hear stuff from time to time. John Beckham, how good is solar flare for propagation currently? Well, the solar activity, we're actually, there's two things about solar activity right now. One is, of course, It will have a little quiet moment. It's kind of down a little bit, but it's still active. The sun is still active. Solar flux is pretty much always above 100. But the solar activity, there was a report that came out this week that solar activity for solar cycle 25 is still rising at a much faster pace than was predicted. And it seems we're in for a really big solar maximum for 2025. So we're in for a good ride with this solar cycle, I think. Things are quieted down a little, but they're gonna pick up. I mean, conditions and all of the activity on the suns in the past couple of months has been crazy. So really, really nice. DBS C777, nice to have you here from Connecticut, KC1PSK. Thank you, Mike, for the tip. Yeah, Alaska, lots of stuff to check out there. Also, be an interesting point of listening. Gabriel, I'm interested in finding some tech that block the medium wave so I can evade local images for shortwave. How's called such tech? So what you can do is actually have there's several. I'm gonna just go here. I'm gonna give you an example here. Whoops. So what you want to have is either a high pass filter that blocks anything below, but sometimes that's not what you want to have. So you might want to have a medium wave filter. So I'm trying to find one here that I saw. So dealing with broadcast band receiver problems. So the filter solution is to get one of those filters that blocks the medium wave band. So a high pass filter will pass frequencies above a certain frequency is one, but you can have a band pass filter also that will work with shortwave but stop certain frequencies. I'm trying to find, so here's where I found one that was not expensive. Anybody have a link to any filters that would block the medium wave band for a friend here? I lost the link that I had. But so what Gabriel you will be using is either a high pass filter, so a filter that will actually block. One is the Tenamus has one here. There's the New Elect Flamingo AM filter, which is, I believe, one of those that actually blocks the medium wave band from getting into your devices. There's a lot of these, and you can even build one actually. If you look at, if you want to, have fun trying it, you can actually build one yourself to block medium wave. So what it's going to do is at the antenna is going to prevent the medium wave signals by attenuating them a lot from getting into the radio. Alan, Aberdeen Coast Guard shipping forecasts I've heard in the 2 megahertz. Yep, you'll hear them even at the top part of 1 megahertz. Tenamus, I might be too far inland to pick up ship to shore. I've never once picked yes, for example. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And if you're far from the coast, it makes it a little more difficult for sure. Bruce Corbett N9BH ham radio used to have auto patch on some repeaters. The ham would push some tone, enable auto patch, and dial a phone number. Yes, I remember that. I remember when they that was popular before the cell phone happened. That was popular. You could hear regular conversation. Hey, honey, I'm going to be late. Yeah, check it out, Gabriel. You'll have all of these. You can build it yourself. You can buy one already made that will block. I'm just gonna try to find my page because I'm going a little crazy. High pass filter, medium wave blocking. Check something here. So Bonito has one, which is the HP0020. So this is something, I'm going to give you an example here. Copy this one. It's something like this that could be useful for you. As long as you're not trying to listen to long wave, because this one will actually make you block everything below 2 megahertz. So if it's for the shortwave part, this is going to work. If it's on the long wave part that you want to block, then you'll need another type of filter. Ricardo, nice to have you here from Portugal. Bruce Corbett and 9BH, no business was allowed, including buying a pizza on the way from home. But if you broke down in the middle of nowhere, it could be pretty valuable. Yep, absolutely. Nick Sharp's getting 8023, which is also the M12 spy number stations out of Moscow, Russia. Sergio, nice to have you here from Sydney. JD Dakota, back when I first got into shortwave hobby, I used to hear ship short radio a lot on 4 megahertz in the early 70s. Yeah, that was the time when there was a lot of stuff. Up to the ship to shore stuff, up to the late 80s was pretty popular. It's in the early 90s that really that decline started on the ship to shore as they moved to satellite. It's like the aeronautical stuff on the bands. Aeronautical, you've got to listen while you can, because those planes aren't going to be on HF forever, and so this is going to be this is something to check out. Does anybody receive any long wave stations? On the East Coast, some receive long wave stations. Long wave stations on the East Coast. They're from Europe, for example, in the Middle East. Some people do. The more inside the land you are, the more difficult it is. And what you'll mostly hear on long wave in North America is those non-directional beacons. I hear probably 20, 25 non-directional beacons here when I listen to the radio. John K6RXD, my dad and I used ship to shore on the boat when I was a kid to call home for no reason. Then it was fun. I had to say over at the end of the sentence. Yep. Here there was a Radio Alma, which was kind of Bell Communications having a radio telephone communications with stations that were up north of Quebec, for example. So when people went really up north, like for fishing trips and stuff like that, no cell phones, nothing works there. So they would do phone patches from up north through the Bell Canada system. And it was fun because you could hear the people not used to it, but having to say over at the end of their phrase all the time to switch. But you can still hear some of those, but they're not using that anymore. It's just two people having the radios to communicate together. But it's still going to work, Gabriel. The filters are filters. They're just electronic circuits. that block certain frequencies. They would technically work for regular receivers also. It's just coils and capacitors to block certain frequencies. Actually, if you look online to how to build one yourself, you'll see tons of schematics and info about how to make one and decide what frequencies you're going to block. Bruce says, used to hear beacons, but no longer. Maybe I need to listen more. Yeah, you probably heard the stronger ones that was in your area. Um, Non-directional beacons are actually slowly declining. So you might have lost the ones that are strong around you. So I'm going to give you the best list, non-directional beacons list. This is the best list of non-directional beacons, or one of the best in at least, that you can listen to. Long wave radio beacons here. I know there's another one that is also pretty good, but this one is quite good also. And it's updated regularly. The last update on this one is May the 24th. So here you'll see the list of beacons and the long wave bands. Here we go. Here we go. And if you guys look at that list, just out of curiosity, on the beacons, the way it works, you might see that the text is of different size, and the some is kind of lighter in the way that it's there. Some are increased bigger fonts also, and darker. Um, these go with the power. So the darker, the bigger the text of the font, the more powerful the beacon is. So, like the first one on the top here, from Dixon, North Carolina, 198 kilohertz, 2,000. The power is 2,000 watts, and then you have its latitude, longitude. So that's what you get. For example, the Iqaluit one at 204, 6,000 watts, 6 kilowatts, much more powerful, but it's far up north. So you might have lost the ones that are close to you, and that's why maybe you don't hear them anymore. Try to get into a location where you have the least amount of noise and slowly tune in sideband, and you'll see that you probably hear some from far away. But they are being decommissioned slowly. So, here in Montreal, we lost one last year, a couple last year here in the southern part of Quebec. There were quite a few across Canada that were actually shut down. So slowly they're moving away, and these are being removed. VT Radio, take care, stay safe. 73, my friend from Vermont. John Meckham, Shortwave Radio is a great hobby to enjoy because it's always the unknown of what you might pick up while you're tuning to bands. Indeed, absolutely. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. Joseph, very strange. Getting faint music on 2280 kilohertz. You're probably getting some medium wave broadcasts that is creeping into the 2 megahertz range. It happens quite often. Our dad says Railroad Police in New Jersey used Autopatch for years and they were on VHF. Yep. Tobruk Tim, I had a super CD that broadcast on FM, but if no one else had one, also, would I talk to? Who would I talk to? Kind of pointless. Yeah, if you're not on the same mode as everybody else, kind of has a problem. Maybe it could be used again now that FM is apparently a new mode that's going to be available. Yeah, Eric Cottrell. That list is really, really nice. And even if some, by the way, if some of those are say decommissioned, try them anyway. I've noticed that there are a few in there that say decommissioned that were still on the air recently. So they're not all necessarily decommissioned, but some are. You also have some that are saying going to be decommissioned soon. So there's a cutoff date for that. So you'll see them on the list. But like I said, pick them up while you can because these will eventually, disappear, and that might not. You won't have once these disappear. There's not going to be that much on the bands. There is one thing though, also to check out. If you listen to, it's more like the medium wave band. Lots of I've been hearing a lot of it. There's lots of NAFTEX marine broadcasts in the 470 to 520 kilohertz range, 518 kilohertz, 490 kilohertz, two frequencies that are used a lot. I hear at night a lot of NAFTEX transmissions there. So you can try that for sure on the bands. Let's check it out here. Unknown. Does anybody get this buzzing sound when in AM mode from 49 to 22 meter broadcast bands? And you must have some local interference really, really close to you, unknown. Especially for such a widespread frequency range, you have something that is actually buzzing on your radio, and it's local to you. Go outside, go far away from where you live. Like far away. Go outside and take a walk. You might see that it goes away as you move away from where you are, with a walk or something, or go to a park. If it's not there anymore, you've got that. Yeah, he does maintain a NAFTEX list. Absolutely, Eric. Thanks for sharing. RJDA Coda 5085 on the air with their amateur radio program. That's WTWW. Bruce Coburn and 9BH. Maybe 10 years back, there was a guy who licensed a beacon just below the medium wave band, and it interfered with the bottom of the medium wave band. I could hear it on the car radio in Chicago. There's still a few people, a few hams that have experimental beacons in that long wave range. It's still a thing, but these are difficult, very, very difficult to receive, honestly. So, hey guys, I'm a little tired and I want to eat. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go make myself some hot dogs on the barbecue. So I'm gonna say good night. I'm going to say goodbye for now. We've been on for a little more than 3 hours. Not bad at all. And Chris, what's your suggestion for the best small shortwave radio for a bug out bag? If you don't have, if SS single sideband is not a must, the Radioir or the Siuadon R108, great little inexpensive radio that works really well. And pretty surprising. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Lots of information as usual, and interesting. We talked about the Marine Band a little. That is something that is definitely something we don't talk about much because we don't hear that much usually, but there's stuff to listen to, guys. So do tune in to all of those bands for sure. Eric Catrella picked up a NAFTEX station for Portugal. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. So take care, my friends. Stay safe. And take care, everybody. V2FGJ, nice to have you here. 73. And don't forget, Wednesday, there's no show. We're going to be back next Saturday at 20 hours Universal Time. Take care, my friends. Stay safe. I'll be listening to the radio all evening, so if I hear anything special, I'll be on the Facebook group. So take care. Yeah, well, David, might be sooner than we think. I've had quite a few stations from Europe this week again. So who knows? Stay safe, everyone.